This is Bo Sanchez. I am so happy to be able to be with you today, and I'm praying that as you listen to this powerful word, the blessings of God will flow to you and your family and to your home like a river, just blessing every area of your life. That's my prayer right now in Jesus' name. So, are you ready to receive the word? Here it is. Here's God's beautiful message to you. God is your greatest reward. And if there's somebody beside you, tap that person and tell that person, God is your greatest reward. All right, we begin. I begin with this spiritual truth, universal truth. We all want to be loved. We all desire to be loved. We do. We want to be affirmed. We want to be approved. We want to be accepted. We want to be liked. And you know that's normal. That is absolutely normal. I just think of all the men that I have spoken to that have this deep heart wound because their own fathers, they long for their fathers to tell them to their faces, I'm proud of you, my son. But those words never came. I'm thinking of all the women that I have met who have that heart wound, deep heart wound, because they long for their mother to say, I'm proud of you, my daughter. But those words never came. I was doing youth ministry a long time ago, maybe some 750 years ago. Yeah, it feels that long. But I can still picture the faces of these young people when they came to me and crying. And they're saying, Brother Bo, please talk to my mom, please talk to my dad. I said, why? And these teenagers will tell me, because every time my mom talks to me, she's scolding me. Every time she talks to me, I'm doing something wrong. And she never would talk to me and tell me that I'm doing something right. There was this one girl, I remember, she was just, her tears welling up, streaming down her cheeks. And she told me, Brother Bo, parang sa tingin ng nanay ko, in the eyes of my mom, I'm just one big walking mistake. And my heart would just get crushed because these kids, they're longing for the love of their parents. And so just want you to know that it's normal, it's God-given, this is how we're made. It's almost like this. If your body needs food, your soul needs love. And think about it, think with me, that our bodies, we get sick. Our bodies get sick usually not because of the lack of food, but because of the wrong kind of food. So what am I going to talk about today? What if our souls are sick because we're pursuing the wrong kind of love? So let me begin by telling you the story of a 7-year-old boy by the name of Picky Ricky. Picky Ricky was someone who, his name comes from the fact that he was a picky eater and his mother would have such a difficult time feeding him. Like every meal was the war of Armageddon, it was a battle. It was like, there was a lot of crying and pleading and bribing and bargaining. If you eat this spinach, you will have ice cream. And so, man, Picky Ricky didn't like normal food at all. So was Picky Ricky a thin guy? No, he was actually huge. Because he loved sweets. Like every morning, he would wolf down bowls of milk and sugary cereals, and then in his school bag there was caramel bars, etc. Jelly beans, and then he would just eat, cookies and stuff. And when he would be going home from school, people would see him with this big pink ball of cotton candy, and he loved, that was his favorite food. Like he would eat that thing. He could eat that the whole day. He just loved it, cotton candy. So, Picky Ricky, what am I driving at? It's almost like this, that the reason why he was not eating normal food was because he was already full. Because there are two kinds of physical hungers. You've got your stomach hunger, and then you have your cellular hunger. What does that mean? Your stomach hunger. Or Picky Ricky, he ate all the sweet stuff, and he didn't have stomach hunger. It was satisfied. But because it was satisfied, his cellular hunger, down to the cellular level of his body, they were hungering for vitamins and minerals and enzymes and all the good stuff. And he was not hungry for that. He could not eat that because the stomach hunger was satisfied. And I want to make that as an analogy for our spiritual life, because there is such a thing in our souls. We have what you call a emotional hunger and a spiritual hunger. And so emotional hunger is, we want people to like us. Spiritual hunger is our hunger for real love. That's why when you get 683 likes in Facebook, you're happy. When you get heart emoticons, flooding to your cell phone, whoa, you feel good. Why? Emotional hunger. But spiritual hunger, when you long for real love, at the end of the day, only God can give you real love. Only God. No one. Only He can love you permanently, unconditionally, and eternally. Now, here's the problem. When your emotional hunger is satisfied with public applause, with the cotton candy of public applause, you no longer are driven towards God. What happens, it gets numbed, and you'll just look for that cotton candy again and again and again. So today I'm going to ask you 3 tough questions. Now, I know I could talk about, the 3 religious activities that Jesus talked about today, which was giving and praying and fasting, but I think they're just a backdrop to his central message. And because any religious activity we could use to gain public applause so that people will like us, but that's the point of the story. So here's the 3 tough questions. I hope you're ready. They're really tough. Number 1, here we go. Are you a Christian actor or a Jesus follower? Because if you and I do religious activities so that we get liked, so that we get approved, so that we get, praised, Jesus called us hypocrites. Hypocrites. Where does that word come from? In Greek, it's hypocritai, and it's exactly, the same root word for that actor in a Greek play, in an ancient Greek play, that was wearing this big mask. In ancient Greece, they had plays, they had theaters, and I'll give you a little trivia that all Greek actors were all men. There was no women. So if there's a female role in a Greek play, it was a guy who was playing that role, and he was just wearing a mask, a huge mask of a woman. And it's sad, here's my big question. I mean, it's sad when you just wear a mask in real life, pretending to be religious so that people will like you, doing this religious thing so that people will appreciate you. Question, are you wearing a mask so people will like you? And it is sad, because if people like you wearing a mask, they don't really like you. They just like the mask that you're wearing. And what should you do? What's the solution? The solution is to come to God as is, where is, without any mask, and let God heal you. So here's the second question. Are you ready? Who do you want to give you rewards? What am I talking about? Well, there's a universal principle that says that for every action causes a reaction. In the spiritual realm, we say it a little bit differently. We reap what we sow. That's true. So there are such things as rewards. But the big question is, from whom do you want to receive rewards? You can, because if you go through the passages, you find a pattern. And let's read it together, okay? So it says here in verse 4, give your gifts in private, and your Father who sees everything will reward you. So when you give, God will reward you. We go to verse 6. But when you pray, go away by yourself, shut the door behind you, and pray to your Father in private. Then your Father who sees everything will reward you. And then it says again in verse 18, then no one will notice that you are fasting except your Father who knows what you do in private. And then he says it again. And your Father who sees everything will reward you. So you and I have a choice. What's the choice? Option 1, do you want people to reward you? Or number 2, option 2, do you want God to reward you? I don't know about you, but I want God to reward me. Because man's rewards are fleeting and faulty and feeble, but God's rewards are forever. That's what I want. And so I'm gonna share with you 2 stories. I'm gonna close my part of the message with 2 stories. And the first one is this. I was this was years ago. I was doing a little fundraising event, and we were just about maybe 30 people there. And it was so informal that when in my little talk, I was just thanking everybody. I didn't have a list of donors in front of me. I just, when I would see a face, I'd say, hey, thank you so much. And I see another guy, thank you so much. I see another woman, thank you so much for, this was so informal. It was just like, banter, and really thanking them for all their generosity. When I sat down, my friend who was beside me whispered to my ear, Brother Bo, one of your donors she's got offended by you. I overheard. And I said, why? And my friend told me, because you mentioned people before her, and these people gave lesser than her, and she wanted to be mentioned first. And I said, for some people, billing is an issue. And so it would have been very easy for me to just look down on that and look down at her and say, wow, this woman has issues, has problems, that. But I've come to learn that what she was feeling was really something that was in me as well. I've come to realize not to judge people, because the very thing I'm judging is that very thing that's within me. I'm telling you. Because I too feel the desire to lift up my name. Except that as the years went by, whenever I feel that desire to lift up my name, I'd rather lift up the name of Jesus. Let me tell you why. Because when I lift up my name, and I've succeeded to lift up my name, I feel empty. It's because it doesn't fill up my spiritual need, just my emotional need. I'm eating the cotton candy of public applause. Which brings me to my second story. And this is an embarrassing story. One day, I gave what I felt was a huge, crazy amount to God. And just at least in my mind, it was big. And here's what I noticed. In the following weeks after that event of giving that crazy amount to God, I had this desire, this urge, that whenever I was with my close friends, I wanted to slip into the conversation the exact figure, the exact amount I gave. And the reason in my mind I was justifying this desire to tell people about how much I gave and the exact figure is because people will say, Bo is such a generous guy. I should also give in the same way. I wanted to set an example so that people will give in the same sacrificial way. But if I was to be honest about it, the real reason was I wanted people to like me. And I had to really use all my strength to shut my mouth, during those times when I had this urge to tell them what I did. It was difficult, but I did shut my mouth. And because I did not satisfy my emotional hunger for public praise, my spiritual hunger took over, and it drove me towards God. And in the arms of God, my soul, my agitated soul, received more peace. And I began to pray, Lord, you are my greatest reward. And if I have you, I have everything. And it was so beautiful. So that's what happens when you say no to your desire for public praise, when you say no to your desire to lift up your name, that spiritual hunger becomes alive, and then you receive your real spiritual food, which is the love of God. God is your greatest reward. Say that with me. God is my greatest reward. Say that again. God is my greatest reward. Here's the third question.
Hi again, everybody. Thank you, by the way.